your thoughts on having a Monday night game. It would be the equivalent of having a team in the college football playoff that had one less day to prepare. I thought that was kind of goofy, to be real honest with you, but that's the way they set it up.
Yeah, see, for me, I was against in general just the playoff expansion. I thought 12 teams was the perfect setting for the playoff. I thought the NFL had by far the most perfect format of any league. And, they've expanded it to 14 2 years ago. And I think anybody who's watched the NFL the last 2 years realizes that like last team to get in the playoffs in each conference the last couple of years didn't deserve to get in, had no business getting in. It and you're right. And moving it to a Monday night, they are the short week in a playoff is completely unfair. And it's similar, I would say, with the college football playoff. The reason it would be okay with the college football playoff is there's usually like a 9 or 10 day layoff between the bowl game and the national title game. But 6 days 6 versus 7 is a huge difference. So, yeah, I think the NFL is being short sighted. They're only thinking about how to maximize revenue now, but they are not thinking long term over how to keep a loyal following, and that could be their undoing.
Agreed. John asked, catching up first time I have a chance to watch the show this year. New time. Yeah, it is a new time. So we're going to be at 10 o'clock each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. Travis asked, the NFL loves money, sure beats a bye week. Absolutely true. And yeah, I go back to the DeMar Hamlin stuff and how much of that was used by money and how many of those decisions were made by money. And Caleb, the bottom line is if Tom Brady had gotten hurt in the 8th week of the season and wasn't a factor anymore, the NFL doesn't make any less money. The NFL, as much as any sports organization, realizes that all the dudes, I don't care if they're Tom Brady or they're Brian Maher, who could not, or was it, I don't know if it's Brian or not, but Maher, the kicker who couldn't hit an extra point. When those guys come and go, they just keep churning out the cash. One guy does not matter. And you saw a little bit of that with DeMar Hamlin. I'm glad in the end they ended up handling it right. But that's just the way the NFL is going to be. The NFL does love money. That's what it is all about. And I will say this too. I had this discussion with my wife and my mom yesterday. So you had the Concussion movie with Will Smith come out. And there's a difference between college football and the NFL. I've covered both in the sidelines. I've covered both in person. The guys are bigger, stronger, faster. In the NFL, there's not even really a comparison between the two. It's almost like two different sports. So with the DeMar Hamlin situation happening and concussion still an issue, the NFL may need to make its money while it can, because are they the same sport? Are they still the lead dog? And Caleb, probably talking about in your lifetime, not mine, but I could see 30 years where the NBA, who is built on stars, I could see them being the preeminent professional league. But, we'll see. The NFL's got a pretty firm grasp on it right now.
Yeah, the NBA is built on stars, which is good, and it's good from a global perspective. The NBA's problem is they were so star oriented, they can't really generate traction in local markets. For lack of a better term, the local NBA team does not draw interest, even on the level that the local baseball team draws interest on, and so that's where it's you want to have star caliber, but you also want all of your teams to have an avid following from their local base. And the problem with the NBA, and there's no way to fix this, we talk about element of randomness in sports. If before the NBA season starts that there's about only 4 teams that have a chance to win the finals. A lot of times there's only 2. And so, if another one of these teams is in your market and is not one of that team, you don't really care to watch that much. And, by the way, college football is dangerously going down that path. This year, everybody knew that it was going to be Georgia, Ohio State, or Alabama to win the title.
Yep.
There was nobody else that had a chance to win it. We knew that from the start. And college football is headed down a dangerous road if they don't find a way to bring a little more parity or introduce a little more randomness into the sport.
Well, let me ask you this. Did Tennessee and TCU change that narrative enough? Now, Tennessee did not make the college football playoff. TCU eventually got blown out by Georgia. But is that I I really thought, to your point, that a very, very predictable sport. And please click that thumbs up button. We greatly appreciate it, so we can bring in more people. I really thought there was enough randomness, enough of a change up with TCU and Tennessee, and to some extent Southern Cal, because they would have done the same thing had Lincoln Riley not left. I thought there was enough of the unknown this year that it offset that issue, which is it's going to be these three or these two teams every year. I was, if I'm an organizer of the college football playoff in the postseason, I'm happy with what happened because other teams were a factor that you didn't expect in the beginning of the year.
I disagree, honestly. I don't think there was enough randomness. And I say that because it still ended up the national championship game was that Georgia Ohio State game in the semifinal. And I think that here's what I would say. I think a 12-team playoff is going to make it better because I will say this. The reason there was more randomness, by the way, before the playoff, and the reason there was more randomness was if you only two teams play for the national championship, well, even the best of the best team is bound to is in danger of slipping up throughout the year at some point. So you could get a little more randomness because all the great teams have a game where they just lay an egg. So maybe the two best teams playing for the title aren't necessarily the two best teams, and so you can kind of get a little bit of randomness like that. If you get a 12-team playoff, you get enough randomness, kind of like March Madness, where okay, now you got to win at least three games, maybe four, and you might slip up having to do that. When it's a 4-team playoff, it's effectively a double elimination. And what we've learned in football is a double elimination tournament basically always crowns the best team because the best team may slip up once. They're not going to slip up twice in a double elimination. They might slip up twice if the playoff is 12 teams, which it's going to be in a year. So I think a 4-team playoff creates the same problem that a best-of-7 series does in the NBA, which is the problem with the NBA in a best-of-7 series. The better team always wins. Baseball and hockey, not so much. Best-of-7 series, those are such luck sports that in a best-of-7 series, you still might actually, get underdogs winning. But in a double elimination for football or in a best-of-7 for basketball, the better team always 100% of the time wins.